Now, after 16 years in LA, Dawn O'Porter and her husband, Chris O'Dowd, have moved back to the UK. And now Dawn has just released a gorgeous new novel. It's called Honeybee, which is also the story about coming home. And Dawn joins me now. Good morning.
Good morning.
The launch was last night. Congratulations.
It was last night. I'm a little bit shaky, but we're doing fine.
Not from nerves, just from a little...
Just from... I was on the dance floor and I got removed from the dance floor with the words, "You have to be on, Lorraine, early in the morning."
Good.
Yeah.
We ruined your night, but it's for a good cause.
It's all worth it.
Listen, you're wearing the Honeybee on your beautiful top this morning.
I am.
This is such a beautiful book, and it continues the story of two characters, and they are sort of... one of them's a version of you.
Yes.
Just tell us who Renee and Flo are.
So I first wrote these two characters about 12 years ago in two books called Paper Airplanes and Goose, and this is the third instalment. Yeah. And you know when people say they've got a book in them and they want to get something out? Well, Paper Airplanes would have been my version of that. So Renee is very, very loosely based on me. There are similarities of our childhood. We both lost our mum. We were both raised by an aunt, an uncle in my case, an aunt in her case. And there's just some obvious parallels. She's not me, and it's entirely fictional, but I pour myself into her.
And in this, the characters go back to Guernsey. And that is a version of you. Yeah. Going back home.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, that feeling of going home, there's nothing like it. So
and the familiarity of those streets and the memories that all of those little moments have for you. I mean, there's some very graphic moments in here.
There are some quite graphic moments, but I feel like I've now established in my books that at some point you're going to blush.
Yes.
And now I quite love writing those moments. But we can't talk about them on daytime telly, but they're in there.
They're in there, but it is capturing the way. And, of course, this morning on our show, we've got Vicky and Nicola who are talking about their great friendship. And actually, in this book, it is about going through trials and tribulations with your bestie.
It is, and just the importance of female friendship. And for me, it's such an important part of my life. My girlfriends are so vital to my life. I tell them everything. They share everything with me and we get each other through so much. But what I never had was one best friend that went from childhood all the way through to now. And that's a relationship that I'm so fascinated by. And that's why I came back with Renee and Flo. So this is a standalone novel. You don't have to have read the others. But when I was bringing them back, I was like, what I love as a writer is, sure, this is all very familiar. Renee's a version of me. It's set in Guernsey where I grew up. There's a lot of me on the page, but this friendship hasn't existed in my life. I'm like, how do you keep a friendship forever? And that's hard sometimes.
It is hard. And it's really interesting because, of course, this is about coming home. And you actually, in your real life, have come back after 16 years in LA. And you've been talking about this, haven't you, about with children, you know, sort of youngish children, the American culture over there started to put you and Chris quite on edge in a way about what is it that they're going to grow up to be?
Well, I'd say more me.
Really?
More me. But I started to, after the pandemic, you know, when something like a pandemic happens, you really weigh up where you are in the world and where you want to be. So the main reason we came home is because we were like, we want to be close to family, and that's it. But I can't deny that I was starting to find America really unsettling. The guns thing is really terrifying and very real in the schools. And like, oh, you know, one of the school mums once said to me, you know, if your kid is going on a play date, you have to call and say, have you got a gun in the house? And I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to make that call, and I don't want someone to ask me that question. And we were very lucky that we could go home or come back. And so lots of reasons got us to that decision to come home. But I can't deny that for me personally, it was the anxiety of America was becoming quite unbearable.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But 16 years is a long time to spend in LA.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. I left before I didn't like it anymore. I still love it. I had my babies there.
Are they American citizens then?
They are, but English as well, obviously.
And do they have American accents?
They've got a hybrid.
Have they?
Yeah. I always say they sound a bit like the Osbournes in the 90s, where, like, where are you from? Just with all these... My eldest will sound really American, and then he'll just say, can we have a bath? Like, he doesn't know where he's from. But they love their little accents, but it's fading a little bit now. But no, it's a really long time. And I remember our time in LA so fondly. It was an amazing 16 years. And then it was time to come home.
And then it was time to come home. And you've also spoken really candidly about when Chris was, you know, in Bridesmaids and you were on all the red carpets, how actually you were feeling quite crushed at the time in yourself. Yeah. And why is that important for you to share that kind of stuff?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that people who are in the public eye are people, and they're not always having the experience that you think they're having. Now, it was a wonderful time in our lives. Chris was doing really well, and we were on red carpets, and that was the first time in my life I'd ever been in those situations. I'd been on TV before, but it wasn't that. You know, it wasn't glamorous. And I just, at the time, would be like, I really love being here and I'm so proud of Chris, but I wish I was here. It feels weird doing all that not for your own achievements, which is the interesting part of it, because I wasn't able to see at the time as my amazing boyfriend as one of my great achievements, which I see now.
Your greatest love, enduring love.
And I'm like, I was so young and consumed with my success that I didn't take a beat to go, well, this is also a great success.
But we don't. You always join the dots looking back,
exactly.
Don't you? And we must say, because our producer today, Rosa, is a massive fan of your bob.
Oh.
And she's like, the last time you were on, we were inundated with questions about how does she do it.
Well, I'm sorry that it's up today, because a few months ago I had the worst haircut of all time, and I got layers put in. So this is the top layer up here, but
we love
the bob is, you know, big brush, loads and loads of hairspray.
Loads of back. I love it, going back to the original 90s version of how to do.
I mean, sometimes, no matter what perfume I've got on, I just smell of Elnett, and that's like my scent. Like a 90-year-old lady.
I love it. Right, lovely. Honeybee is out now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a gorgeous book, actually. It is really lovely. Thank you so much.